Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Eunice, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to pick the right reference for your art. So if you're struggling to pick the right reference for your ideas or just for random studies, stay tuned for this video and I'll tell you how you can elevate your artwork by picking the right reference. When it comes to doing studies of portraits, what I like to do is go to my portrait board and look at some images I've already saved for the past few years and months that I've been scrolling through Pinterest, and try to find an interesting image that I really like. I really like the lighting in this. I think the lighting is stunning and very interesting, dynamic. I like the pose here. I think she has a really dynamic, interesting pose. So I try to look for things that are interesting, things that are, unique, dynamic. Like I like this picture, for example, because there's so much character in this portrait. So I just like to save things that I've been attracted to over the years, and I realized that the more I do portraits, the more I'm open to trying more difficult references and references that I'll probably struggle with as a beginner. So if I was a beginner, what I would just maybe try and focus on is look for pretty poses, because pretty portraits, because those are a lot easier. What I mean by pretty portraits is just portraits with pretty girls. So if I type pretty girls on my Pinterest, for example, there'll be so many options that I could reference from. Those are just the easiest ones, but obviously as you advance in your portraits skill, you should try more advanced poses. Like this one is very simple, front facing, but there's still something like our eyes are so penetrating that you're attracted to the reference. So you could start with things like this before you start advancing to the really intense lighting. So if I want to try and find a reference with a more interesting lighting, what I would do is just type in, maybe I can type in portrait lighting and see what pops up. So here you start to see more dynamic, interesting lighting from multiple sources, really editorial, photographic lighting. So that is where things start to get interesting. And one thing that's very good, why I prefer Pinterest more than Google Images and like other photo platforms, is that once you start to save something that you really like, Pinterest shows you other things that are similar to that image. So if you save a picture today that has this rim lighting, for example, Pinterest will start to show you this is the same picture actually but to start to show you other images with that type of lighting, or more dynamic lighting. Like this is amazing. Obviously it's an artwork, that's why it looks so good and this is an interesting light source as well. So that's what is wonderful about Pinterest, is the more you are looking for something, it just keeps showing you the things that you want, and maybe even better than what you want. So I'd say photos for studies, especially if you want to post on the internet, you want to try and make your studies more interesting to look at, and the way to do that is to pick interesting light source, dynamic poses, great composition, and a nice color palette. And that would be my tips for photo studies. And when it comes to landscape, I think landscape also follows that technique. So if you are trying to do studies of landscapes, I think you also have to look at interesting lighting. this, for example, has such a, it has that strong light source on the characters, including the leaves, so it makes the image more interesting to look at compared to maybe this one. But this is also very interesting because of the focus, the mountain. Is that a mountain or a volcano? I don't know. It looks like a volcano, kind of a dormant one. So having like a character to look at, something that attracts the face, that attracts the eye, attracts attention, is what you need to prioritize when it comes to drawing landscapes. And I'll say here it also has like a very interesting lighting. I also really like the bridge that adds character to the landscape. So for landscape drawings, you're looking for character, you're looking for lighting, you're looking for like this light scene is very dynamic, very interesting to look at. If you add the character on top of that, it will look absolutely amazing. And also clouds have very interesting shapes that you can that look very interesting and appealing. So you can look for references with clouds, trees, although trees are very difficult to do. Oh, and this type of lighting as well, very interesting. And yeah, just keep light source in your mind. This one is actually really interesting. I'll say that the composition is a little bit meh, but the lighting is very interesting. So you could also combine things. Okay, what do I like about this? I like the lighting, I like the colors. The composition is not so good. I could try and fix that in my art, and that's what makes art like amazing, because you get to create something even better than a picture or a reference that you have used. And now that we're talking about manipulating your references, I would like to also talk about things that are from your imagination. Like if you're trying to bring something to life that is still in your head. So I'll just use one of my latest concept art or conceptual art, and I've not actually finished this drawing. It's still a work in progress, but I think we can still use it to illustrate what I'm talking about. So this is a conceptual drawing I'm currently working on. The brief for this is to create an environment that is very fitting to where my characters will be, and it's supposed to be in a palace courtyard, and they're just strolling through like a normal day-to-day life for them. And I am inspired by the Moroccan courtyard. I'm inspired by Art Nouveau, and you will later see that I will use a lot of different types of reference to create this image and to get it up to this stage that it is in right now. Obviously, it's not finished. I still have a long way to go, but it's very close to what I imagine, or maybe even better than what I've imagined in my head. And I will now show you some of my references. So I'm just going to go to this app called Freeform, where I can add multiple references to one image and just continue on like that. So this is my reference, and this was the main reference I used for the composition. It looks very different from what I have now, but if you look very closely, you start to see the shapes. The composition is very similar, and that is because this was my base for my reference. And I also like the lighting. I like the lighting in the courtyard and the darkness around there's like, it creates like a form of frame. I like the framing of the image, so I just kept that. This is also another courtyard that kind of guided me to create my composition and to understand more about the shapes of a courtyard, and to help me make it look different from the reference. So just understand, this image here is just to help me understand the architecture part of the composition. And then I have images like this. I like this because in my drawing I have 2 columns that I want to add huge plant at the end. So I'm trying to think what kind of plants will I implement into the drawing. And I saw this and I thought that it might be a good idea. I won't necessarily go for it. I'm not sure if that is the style of plant I'm wanting in my drawing, but I just have it there and putting it aside to remember that this is an option for me too. So I just have a lot of references to help guide me, but that doesn't mean I'll use every single one of them in my drawing. Like, I was also thinking of a cactus, which is something that I have already, and just have references of cactuses in different light source to help me guide how I'm going to shade and render my cactus in my illustration. I have this one just for the style because I want to add more like African aesthetic into the drawing. So I have this like floor design that I plan on adding to my drawing later on. And this one is just referencing the door, the cactus as well. And I think I just saved this for the texture of the plants on the wall. And yeah, just different things. This is just to reference the Art Nouveau style that I'm trying to have in my drawing, because Moroccan style is more like Arabic, but I want it to look more, I like the Moroccan Courtyard thing, but I want it to look more Art Nouveau in design, then adding the African aesthetic to it. So it's kind of like a fantasy world I've created here, and I just need some guide with the real world to help me combine all these worlds together and make something that feels real, but it's not, obviously. And this is also like giving that Courtyard vibe that I'm just saving for reference. And I like this Art Nouveau door. I'm not necessarily going for it, and I was also looking at some of the color palettes here to see if I can use that to guide my drawing. So it's just a bunch of references that I've gathered together that affect or influence different parts of my illustration. So I'm not just picking one thing and drawing it using just that reference and drawing exactly as I see it. I am interpreting all of this in different ways and picking things that I really like about each one of these references. Like this, for example, I like this statue and I'm thinking of implementing that into my drawing as well. So I'm just picking different elements, and it's always good to have references of them so that you don't forget what you want to add to your drawing, and you keep those things in mind, and to help you to create a more rounded, it should help you to create an image with a lot of character if you have a lot of things that you are adding into the drawing. So I try to add as much as possible without adding too much, because if you add too much it will make the drawing a little bit too busy. I'll see if I can find another illustration I can sample here to show you how simple it can be. So here is a reference I used for this illustration. As you can see, it's very, very different from the end result. Not so much, but it's quite different. I really like the pose that she has here, and the plants. I like the fact that she's holding up plants close to her. It shows that she really loves plants and leaves. That's what I'm getting. The vibe I'm getting from this picture is that she loves the plants and she loves to show people that she has plants. So I was inspired by that to create my own illustration. One of my character's hobby is gardening and plants. So when I saw this, I thought it would be really nice to illustrate my character holding a plant to show that, that's one of her hobbies and one of the things that she likes to do in her spare time, so to say. So obviously I know what my character looks like. Her style is a bit different from the style I normally go for, and I also had to keep her shape language in mind. So I changed the style of her clothing, but I also kept her shape language. It's like the big poof that she has on her sleeves. I also made sure that I kept that, and obviously her hairstyle is going to be the same. And you see that the head, she's not holding a phone anymore, so I just changed the angle of her arms and the position of her arms, and I changed the position of her head as well. And just those little changes make the drawing look quite different, even though this was the main reference and the main pose I used to create my own. So you can, if you are struggling to draw from your imagination, you can just search for a different head position. Like if you don't like the head position of your character, you can just Frankenstein it and maybe put another head on top of that head, and then combine the poses together, move the position of the arms, and then you have created a whole new different pose. And yeah, it's just that simple. To find your perfect reference, I think what can help you achieve that is try and think of your idea. Think of what are you trying to convey. Write those things down. Write the list of things down. And every point that you make in your list, you can just search them on Pinterest. Like this one, I can just search. But in this case, I already had the reference, so it was the reference that inspired my idea. If you think of your idea first and you now need the reference to help you develop the idea, you can just start. In this case, it's a girl holding plants, so just search girl holding plants. It's just that simple. See, some references have popped up here. Oh, this one is so nice. I'm gonna save this actually. This is really cute. Where do I save it? Okay, just save it here for now. And you see, just those things will just lead you. Girl holding plants, girl watering plants. I'm seeing things that are actually going to inspire me to create stories of my own character, woman caring for her green plants. So that's really nice. Oh, yeah, is another reference that is very similar to mine. The pose, everything. So you just have to search for things like that. Oh, this one is also really nice. So, and then you can change your text and say girl with plants. And you see a girl watering plants. Really a nice, beautiful thing that I'm going to save as well. So you can just search for those terms and then save a bunch of them at once, and then those things can help you to guide you on what to draw. So maybe if for example, if I have this one, I really like it and I want the girl's head to change position. So I have this, I want my character to change head position. All I need to do is decide where do I want my character to be facing. So let's say in this case I want my character to be facing the opposite way, so I can just maybe do girl side profile, or I can just search girl looking away, for example. Girl looking away. See girl looking away. This is an amazing reference, but you also have to be careful that the head matches the body, because if I put this on top of this pose, it's going to look very awkward because the perspective is very different. So you have to be careful and remember your perspective when it comes to Frankenstein and putting different bodies on top of each other. That's just something to keep in mind. So yeah, these are some of the tips I have when it comes to finding the perfect reference for your idea, or if you have a perfect reference already, how to create that and turn that into a new idea. I hope you learned one or two things from this video and it was very helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day. Bye.